Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy, and on this channel I talk about color and light. And today I just want to do another quick little video. I've been kind of absent for the past couple of months just because I've been building this course, lightingmentor.com, and it's growing and it's not quite ready, but it's very, very close. Anyhow, I've been putting a lot of effort into that and only been releasing a YouTube video about once a month, and I'd like to get back in and do a few more. So today I'm going to share my process for making a new illustration of my own, just from my own imagination, just for the fun of it. And here is my sketch that I did. And I wanted to make some sort of playful creature in this magical, imaginative world with, you know, swirly kind of trees. And this was my loose sketch. And when I started the process, I made a white background and then I started exploring it. What kind of lighting would I want? And like, would this be kind of daytime with a little bit of light, or would it be nighttime? And like, oh, maybe that little thing that character is holding, it's like food for this creature, is glowing. I like this idea instead of the sun. And I still think I would like to go back and maybe do an alternate version of this where I paint it with, you know, the daylight version as well. But I think the power of small sketches, quick sketches, is really an amazing thing to be able to, just in a few minutes, get an idea. And it doesn't need to be polished, doesn't need to be pretty, but just exploring some colors, some options of the light. And this is why I think it's important to be able to paint quickly, instead of spending hours upon hours refining this thing and realizing, I didn't really like the lighting. Let's learn to just paint really quickly to come up with some ideas. And, you know, just within 10 or 15 minutes, I had these two different ideas and like, I think I'll explore this. Then I decided to go in a little bit different direction and I brought it into 3D. This is something I've not talked about very much yet on this channel, is my work in 3D. And I've done, most of my career has been doing 3D lighting. So I mocked up some spheres. I'm going to turn off my sketch layer here and just show you, I just kind of like mocked something in to go, what if this were in 3D? What would it look like? You know, what could I do, you know, to help me explore lighting ideas there as well, and the way the light would fall off. And I tried, you know, like, what if there's little mushrooms that are glowing, and just explore some of these ideas. Of course, this didn't line up very well with my sketch. Once I brought it back into Photoshop, I realized my proportions were way off because I was just kind of going for it, just very loosely inside of my 3D software. So I took the liquefy, or the puppet tool really, and kind of pushed and pulled the image until it sort of matched my sketch. And if I turn off the sketch, this looks really, really goofy, terrible, but it's an idea. And then I played with it to go, I think it's a little too green. So I color graded this in Photoshop. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of a cool idea of just as a reference of where I might go with the colors. So I painted this on top of that, and you know, this got me a base of where to go. So my sketch is still on, it's very, very loose, but I'm kind of locking in those colors and the way the light will fall off and the way the atmosphere and what color blues in the background and what color would these little glowy mushrooms be. It's just very, very loose. From there, I start refining it a bit more and playing with some of the colors. My approach is usually to think about the light first and then the local color second. And I wasn't sure what color these, you know, what color clothes does this character wear? You know, what color are the plants? What color is this creature? I don't know yet. It could be blue, it could be green, it could be red, it could be any type of color. So I'm painting it as if it's just gray. Everything in the world is just gray at this point, so that the light can really stand out here. And then I'm exploring and refining a bit more and getting more details and finding the shapes of this thing in color and some of the light. And at this point, I start going, I think it'll be red. So I lean the colors, instead of just being gray, I kind of push the colors a little bit on the surface of this object, kind of red, and like, all right, it's kind of a reddish tone creature. And this guy has green pants and a red jacket. Can you see the difference between these past couple? Like, I'm starting to make some of those choices. And not picking primary colors, but just the hint of it within this lighting scenario. And then I decided this is kind of fun. Maybe I would use this for the main page on my new web page of my new company. And it wasn't wide enough for the page. So I loosened the composition here. Whoops. zoom out, I widened it to give a little bit more space. So let me zoom in here. This is the new width of the composition, and I was going to start painting from here. And everything's really sloppy on the edges, you know, because I just need to know the composition. I wanted some darker stuff around this to help frame the whole image so that I look right at the middle. And my first thing my eye goes to is this gem, and then probably to the creature's eyes. And those two things, you know, I kind of bounce back and forth between that and the background and form sort of a compositional triangle. And I'm using the plants to kind of like, if my eye starts looking to the left, it'll swoop back and come in. If it looks to the right, it'll kind of, you know, use the shape of the trees to make that flow back to the center to look at the characters. And I kept refining and adding more details. What color would the ground be? What is it made out of? Is it sand? Is it dirt? Is it grass? And these are going to be rocks, you know, and what's going to be trees? And as I'm painting, I'm sculpting with light. So I'm kind of discovering as I go what are these shapes? You know, are there leaves from the trees? And, you know, what is the feeling to it? I added some glow layers where I make a new layer, put it into add mode, and then paint soft with a soft brush to go, I think there should be a little bit more light from on top, like a mystery light, moonlight, cinematic movie moonlight that is up there to just kind of make the background feel a little bit bigger and give a little bit more depth into the background. And then I can have more rim lights. Keep refining a bit more. I think at this point I started to turn off my sketch layer and just look at this. Actually, I'll go backwards a little. Say I think right about here I turned off my sketch layer. So now I'm just painting not with lines but just with the final, you know, the final image, and I'm sculpting just with light. I use the line sketches. I don't really like doing line art very much anymore because I like the richness of color without black lines outlining it. I respect people who can do really great line work, but I want to get something in that's just pure color. No blacks and grays that are muddying everything up. So as I paint, you can see I've refined the character a lot more, and I've started around the focal point, the face, the eyes, and everything else is still kind of smushy and loose and brushy. The toes aren't, you know, even really refined there. If I go back a couple of steps, you can kind of see as I refine, you know, a bit more, I slowly am smoothing out and giving more detail to the areas of most importance, and then working my way out. Now I get the feet and the gills, and am exploring this character first because it is the focal point of this composition. And then I get the next character and refine this guy. You know, you can see the difference between this layer and this layer, where I just zoom in and paint those details and get it where, you know, I feel pretty comfortable with that character. Then I start, you know, then I work on the jewel that he's holding, the food, whatever this is, glowing cheese. I'm not sure what it is. And then I start refining the background. You can see this step really shifts. The background's all kind of loose, and now I'm cleaning up those lines and giving definition to each of the trees and all the swirly shapes and the mushrooms and the rocks, and I'm kind of defining it right here. And then I'm working my way farther out around the composition. As I went, I realized, yeah, I keep looking back at the whole thing and like, does this character need a little bit more detail in its face? And I think here I painted on, like, I think I want its skin to be a little bit shiny. And so I painted on some specular highlights to change the material from this soft kind of velvet-like material to being a shiny, almost reptilian type of idea. And then I started painting more on the ground, and I like this swirls. I love swirls and swoops and very organic shapes, so I put that into the ground, and like, I think it's some sort of sandstone. And then refine this a bit more, and now I'm starting to get in details of the background, the rocks and the roots, and they're not smushy anymore. And then did a little slight kind of color change here, a little bit more low fog and a little vignetting. You know, there's a little too much light on the bottom. Little tiny refinements. Then I add my little glow swirls that are coming off of this thing as if it has magic floating off of it, or it's warm, freshly microwaved. You know, it's like microwave popcorn for magical creatures. And that is the final image. So I hope you enjoyed the process. This took me about 5 or 6 hours to paint. I didn't record my painting process because it was over several days and I just come in, come out, but I thought it'd be something that would be fun to share with you all, a purely imaginative, out of my own head kind of illustration and my process for how I did it and how I explored the color and light. All right, hope that was fun. See you next time.